Hello everyone, this is Professor Raghavendra Adhyapak, KLS Kukti College of Commerce, Belagavi. So, in today's class, we are going to start with the next concept called estimating bond yields. Okay, so before starting this, first we'll understand what is the yield. Okay, so in simple terms, yield is nothing but the whatever return we are getting on a investment, that is known as yield. Okay, so what it says, bond yield refers to the percentage of rate of return on the amount invested in buying one bond. Okay, so in simple words, what this says, the whatever amount we invested to purchase any securities like bond, shares, or anything, on that, what percent as a return we are getting, that is known as yield. For example, there is a one bond of rupees 1000. Okay, so we purchased it by paying the 1000 rupees. On that, periodically we are getting the 8% of return. Okay, so that percentage of return is known as a yield. Okay, so there are different types of yield in the calculation of bond. Okay, so that we will see one by one. First one is nominal yield. So what is the first one? First one is nominal yield. Okay, this is, so what this is, that it measures only coupon rate. So what it means, the whatever percentage already fixed while paying the that amount of investment while purchasing, only that coupon rate or interest rate it measures, it is nominal yield. Next one is current yield. So what current yield measures, it measures current year rate of return. Okay, current year rate of return. For example, the bond is of 5 years, but at presently this year how much that bond is getting the return, that will be measured with the help of what, करंट यील्ड. करंट यील्ड मींस करंट ईयर रिटर्न. ओके, इस साल में कितना रिटर्न उस इन्वेस्टमेंट में आया है, वी कैलकुलेट इट, राइट. सो दैट इज करंट यील्ड. नेक्स्ट इज यील्ड टू मैच्योरिटी. So what is yield to maturity? It measures annual rate of return if bond is held till its maturity. Okay, so अगर आपके पास जो कुछ भी बॉन्ड है, तो आपने इस पूरा मैच्योरिटी तक, इट मे बी 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, till end of the maturity if you hold it. Okay, so then what rate of return you getting annually, that will be calculated yield to maturity. Okay, so yield to maturity, the name itself says that yield to maturity. So maturity तक आपको कितना मिलता है, that will be calculated here. Okay, next is yield to call. So what is yield to call? It measures annual rate of return if the bond is held till the call. Okay, so while studying the types of bond, we studied that call option bond, put option bond, right? So वहाँ पे क्या होता था, call होता था. What is call? That if the issuer, right, get back those bonds, or he makes the maturity of those bonds before the maturity period. Okay, so I already told that. So XYZ company is there, they issue the 1000 rupees bond for the 5 years, right? So if there is any call option, means instead of 5 years, before the 5 years, after the 2 years itself, they call for the its maturity. Okay, then it is called as call, right? So what is it, measures what, yield to call. So call होने तक आपका जो कुछ भी रिटर्न है, that will be calculated with the help of this yield to call. Okay, for example, we wanted a we taken the bonds of 5 years, but the call is happen after the 2 years itself, right? After the 2 years the issuer called for a bonds, right, for maturity. So up to till that 2 years, how much we earned as a return, that yield will be calculated with the help of yield to call. Okay, next is holding period yield or realized yield. Okay, so what we measure in this is that it measures the total return over the holding period. Okay, so for how many days you are holding that bonds, right, that investment or securities, to till that period or within that period, total how much you earned, that will be calculated under this holding period yields. Okay, So it says in simple words, it measures the total return over the holding period. Okay, so these are the main five types of yields under the bond. So we will quick revise it one by one. First one is nominal yield. It measure the only कूपन रेट. सो कितना परसेंट है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 1000 का बॉन्ड है, उसके ऊपर 10% रिटर्न है. सो उतना हो गया नॉमिनल कूपन रेट. वॉट एवर इज देयर, दैट मच ओनली इट कैलकुलेट्स नॉमिनल, राइट. नेक्स्ट इज करेंट yield. So what is current yield? It measures current year rate of return. current year means इस साल का उस इन्वेस्टमेंट के ऊपर कितना रिटर्न हमको आया है, दैट वी विल calculate. Okay, so only of the current year. Next is yield to maturity. Means what is the annual rate of return if the bond is held till its maturity. So अगर आपके पास maturity तक उस bond आपके पास है, तो annually आपके पास कितना return मिला है, that will be calculated under this yield to maturity. Next is yield to call. It measures the annual rate of return if the bond is held till the call. Okay, so अगर company ने call कर दिया before the maturity date, so till that call, that period, how much the rate of annual rate of return or yield is earned, that will be calculated with the help of yield to call. Okay, next is holding period yield or realized yield. What it measures? It measures the total return over the holding period. ओके, जब तक आपने उस इन्वेस्टमेंट या सिक्योरिटी या बॉन्ड को आपने होल्ड किया था, उस पीरियड के लिए आपको कितना टोटल रिटर्न मिला है, दैट विल बी कैलकुलेटेड विद द हेल्प ऑफ होल्डिंग पीरियड yield. Okay, so these are the different types of yield what we studied under the types of bond. Okay, so remaining part we will see in the next class.